All right, let's get right into it. What we're about to cover is happening in real time, and honestly, the stakes could not be higher. We are staring down what might just be the most dangerous 72-hour window we've seen in the last decade.
The date you see is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. And no, this isn't some history lesson. This is right now. And the clock is ticking towards a deadline that expires this Sunday. Now you're going to want to stay till the end because some shocking things I'm going to reveal are unfolding as we speak. So let's get back to it.
You've got three events that look separate, but trust me, they're all converging into a perfect storm. First, a massive US naval armada is moving into position in West Asia. Second, critical diplomatic talks over in Geneva have just completely collapsed. And third, halfway across the globe, India has just announced its own declaration of independence in the new race for technological dominance.
So that leaves us with the big question, right? Are we watching the final, terrifying moments in a countdown to a massive regional war? Or are we actually witnessing the chaotic, painful birth of a totally new world order? In this explainer, we're going to connect those dots for you. Okay, first up, let's talk about the hardware. To really get the gravity of this situation, you have to look at the pieces being moved into place on this giant naval chessboard. This is the steel and firepower that has put the entire world on edge.
What you're looking at here, well, it's basically a red line in military strategy. That's the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier on the planet, and it's steaming at high speed to join the USS Abraham Lincoln. Now, history tells us something absolutely critical here. The US does not move two of these carrier strike groups into the same area for a friendly drill. It's only ever for one of two things: a full-blown invasion or a maximum pressure ultimatum that it is fully prepared to back up with overwhelming force.
But here's the thing. This American armada isn't just sailing into empty ocean. Russia and Iran have launched a direct countermove. They're calling them the Smart Control Joint Naval Drills. Their stated mission? To deter unilateral aggression. But let's be real. In practical terms, Russia is literally putting its ships in between American firepower and Iranian targets. It's a physical and political buffer. It's a direct challenge.
And this is exactly why military analysts are losing sleep right now. It is a classic powder keg. This quote just sums it up perfectly. It doesn't even need a direct order from the top to kick things off anymore. All it takes is one miscalculation, one drone that goes haywire, one commander who's a little too eager, and this whole situation could spiral out of control. So you've got to be asking, why now? Why is all this happening right now? Well, this military buildup isn't happening in a vacuum. To understand the why, we have to leave the high seas and go inside the quiet, tense meeting rooms of Geneva, where the diplomatic option has just completely fallen apart.
Now you gotta understand, this is not your grandfather's diplomacy. The current Trump administration runs on a model of what they call personal diplomacy. So instead of going through the usual career diplomats at the State Department, they use a very small, very loyal inner circle. The key players trying to get a deal done here are Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and reports say they've just told the president that the talks are dead.
And this timeline is everything. It explains how we got to this ultimatum. Back in June of last year, Operation Midnight Hammer saw US strikes hit key Iranian nuclear facilities. The message was meant to be crystal clear. But Iran didn't back down. With a lot of help from Russia and China, they started to rebuild. That led to these talks in Geneva, which have now deadlocked over the US demand for zero enrichment. So the White House has drawn a line in the sand. A deal must be signed by this Sunday, or new, even more devastating strikes are back on the table.
But while these old rivals are locked in this dangerous, familiar dance, there's a completely different game being played on the other side of the world. A game that could totally redefine the next century. For that, we have to turn to India. Now, an AI summit in New Delhi might seem like it has nothing to do with a naval crisis, but it is, right at the heart of this story.
In New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi just pulled the curtain back on something called MANAL. It's an acronym. It stands for moral, accountable, national sovereignty, accessible, and valid. Now look closely, because the two words in there that change everything, the words that are shaking up the global game, are national sovereignty.
What we just heard from Prime Minister Modi is nothing less than a declaration of independence for the 21st century. He said that AI has to be a global common good and not a tool for confidential strategic competition. Let me translate that for you. He's sending a direct message to both Washington and Beijing saying, India will not be your digital colony. We are not just a market for you to exploit or a source of data for your AI empires.
And this isn't just talk. They are putting serious money where their mouth is. A lot of money.
Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani and his company Jio just pledged 10 lakh crore rupees. That's over $100 billion to build a completely sovereign, completely Indian digital infrastructure. We're talking about their own data centers, their own large language models, a whole AI ecosystem built by India for India.
So here's the crucial takeaway. While the West is totally consumed by a potential war in the Gulf, India is quietly building a digital fortress. It's created an economy and an information bubble that is specifically designed to survive these kinds of geopolitical storms. This is the very definition of strategic autonomy, and frankly, it's on a scale we have never seen before. But that kind of sovereignty, well, it creates friction. And all of this military posturing and political maneuvering has a very, very real price tag attached. So let's connect the dots between this idea of national sovereignty and your wallet and the global economy.
And we saw a perfect example of this friction play out at that AI summit. Bill Gates was supposed to be a keynote speaker, a huge deal, but he abruptly pulled out. The official reason was super vague, something about internal deliberations. But sources on the ground point to two big things. India's new, incredibly strict data laws, which totally challenged the business models of American big tech, and a lot of renewed public pressure on Gates from the recently released Epstein files. The message here is loud and clear. India is now a power player, a regulator willing to tell a global titan no thanks to protect its own digital borders.
Okay, now let's talk about a number that could affect every single one of us. $150. That's the price per barrel of oil that analysts at major banks like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are saying we could see almost overnight if a military strike happens this weekend.
Why so high? This map tells you everything you need to know. It's called the Strait of Hormuz, and it is, without a doubt, the world's most critical choke point for oil. Think about this. A full 20%, 1/5 of the entire planet's oil supply passes through that tiny strip of water every single day.
And this isn't some theoretical risk. This is a direct quote from the commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy. He just publicly boasted that his forces exercise complete command over the strait. And during their current military drills, they've been showing off their ability to shut it all down with swarms of drones and fast-attack missile boats. The threat is simple. If the shooting starts, the oil stops. Period.
Which brings us right back to where we started, the final ultimatum, and the next 72 hours that will decide what comes next.
So, let's just recap the powerful forces that are colliding right now. You've got a US president who is demanding either a big deal or a big strike. You have a Russo-Iranian alliance creating a direct physical roadblock. You have the rise of a digitally independent India carving out a third way. And the whole thing is balanced on a global economy that is completely held hostage by one narrow strip of water.
And that leads us to one final stark question. Are the events of this weekend going to trigger what some are calling a great reset, a planned, if painful, realignment of global power? Or will it ignite a great fire, a chaotic, unpredictable conflict with consequences that nobody can even begin to imagine?
We are going to be tracking this entire situation in real time as that Sunday deadline gets closer. So make sure you subscribe to this channel for the latest updates. But now, I really want to hear from you. What do you think happens next? Is this all a massive bluff to force a deal, or are we really on the brink of war? And do you think India's independent path offers a way out of these kinds of old-world conflicts? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the video coming up on your screen. Stay informed.